So this time I decided that I am going to combine the technicality of Salim Must Die with the emotional backdrop which was there in Lashkar and Blowback. So The Dust Will Never Settle has in the backdrop the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It's a more global theme. It is definitely a bigger and more global star cast. So we have Ruby Gill, who is half Indian, half Palestinian. Her dad is Indian, mom is Palestinian. Born and brought up in UK, she's the main protagonist. You see, in this one, like I mentioned to you, I reversed the formula. Good girl, bad girl, and a man. So Ruby is the good girl. No, not really. She's also not the bad girl, but she is a person who's caught at a crossroads mentally and emotionally. So she is the main protagonist. Girl in her late 20s, early 30s. Like I mentioned, half Indian, half Palestinian. And she is also an MI6 agent. However, has been subverted by her mother, right from birth. So in this book, Ruby sets out to destroy a peace summit between the Israelis and the Palestinians, which is being held in Delhi. And guarding the peace summit is her father, who is the head of the Indian Anti-Terrorist Task Force. Obviously, he separated from the mother when she was 3 years old, so they have never met after that. So this book actually has two parallel tracks running, that between a father and a daughter who come together after 25 odd years and have to rediscover each other as human beings, and they have the agenda. One is protecting a summit, one is out to destroy it. So it's to my mind, it's a beautifully woven story. In fact, this book was picked up by the US and the Canadian market. Not only did they pick up this one, they even optioned the next two from this series, which I am writing currently. I'm writing book 2 from this series right now, which I will not talk about right now. So The Dust Will Never Settle has Ravinder Gill, who is the head of the Anti-Terrorist Task Force in India. He's also the estranged father of Ruby Gill, the main protagonist. And she has a boyfriend who is a British national. And the peace summit has been held. There has been a terror strike in Israel. And in the wake of that strike, there's a peace summit happening in Delhi. It's happening concurrent to the Commonwealth Games. So there is the additional stress of guarding that and the peace summit. How it ends? Read the book. So there is a lot of human emotions even in Lashkar and Blowback. In this one, it's a little more, and it's of a very different nature because it's not between a man and a woman. It's between a father and a daughter. Okay, the father really cares for the daughter, and the daughter has really missed him all these years. She has grown up blaming him for not being there because she was very attached to him. I have made sure that the balance was clear because even in this book, most people who have read it tell me that it's hard to put it down once they start it because there is something happening on every page. Action, emotions running concurrently. So it is a very fast-paced book. In fact, it is possibly as fast-paced as the one which came after that, which is saying something because most people are telling me that it takes 3 to 4 hours and till they finish with it, they cannot put the book down. And mind you, this book is 85,000 words. So that is definitely a sizable book. It's as big as Lashkar. It was both. Look, like I mentioned to you, I need to keep moving on and doing something different. So I definitely I was done with that theme. I needed to write a more topical book. I needed to write a topical book. And this is also a topical issue. I needed to make sure that it had a larger appeal because definitely I wanted to enhance the size of my playing ground. So I was proven right in both counts. Readers have loved it in India and overseas. And it's now going places. And that will possibly also become the engine which will pull the other series globally. Google Zindabad. I told you I only use online and information in the public domain. So it was not difficult. And please remember, MI6, there is no difference from any other intelligence agency in the world. The color of the skin may be different, the location in which they function may be different, but the basics of it, the intelligence game, remain the same. Okay, in this book, actually I broke the formula. What I did was, even in the one which came later, I have tried to highlight the fact that there are no good people or bad people. There are people, sometimes their actions are good, sometimes their actions are bad. So Ruby Gill is a very conflicted lady. She has on one hand a very deep and undying love for her father and an extremely deep attachment for him, just as he has for her. She also has the fanatic subversion which has been built into her by her mother. So she is driven by the cause as much as she is driven by the love for her father. That is what is the conflict which drives that lady. Then is the father, sworn to protect, to serve and protect, a cop, that's his duty on one side, and he is deeply, for me, I have been personally very influenced by the Bhagavad Gita, and generally I do use something from it in all my books, because I find it to be a supremely motivating book. So he also has his duty very clearly mapped out to him, the way Arjun had it for him in that time, the warrior Arjun. So there is he, his love for his daughter on one side, and the fact that he feels guilty he wasn't there for the last 25 years with her to watch her grow. The fact that he now has a new family with another daughter, the emotional conflict between them and his duty. Even at the time when he starts suspecting that she could be the person who's been sent in, how the father and the cop come into conflict in the head. So I thought it had come out very well. In fact, that part I believe was really liked by a lot of readers. I had plotted the story from start to finish, written the climax, but when I am writing, because I'm not worried about what I have to say, I actually have got more ideas creeping in because I have more freedom of thought. How do I say it? And I can actually create so many incidents. For example, in The Dust Will Never Settle, there's a particular scene where Ruby and her father are talking in the garden, and she asks him a question about why he had left her. And before he can answer, in the background you can hear the whistle of a pressure cooker. Now that was very symbolic for me because it was all that pent up rage, frustration, anger, love, everything which was being vented like that pressure cooker whistle in the background. So it was great fun because that was something when I was actually that day sitting by the swimming pool and writing when my neighbor's pressure cooker went off. And that's how you get new ideas, that's how new thoughts creep in, because I'm not stressed about what I have to say. And the action is, the technical construct was equally challenging because she is going to attack a heavily guarded peace summit. Okay, so there was a huge technical construct. For me, the harder part was not the technical construct, not the human emotions. It was the fact that I, a man, had chosen to write as a woman. The majority of the story is told from Ruby's point of view. I wrote her parts 7 times. In the 5th time, I was kind of satisfied. The 6th and 7th time, my agent made me rewrite because he wasn't satisfied. So I wrote her parts 7 times, which is pretty much half the book. It was great fun. And I do believe that one book made me grow more as a writer than any of the other books. It was extremely challenging. Look, all operations, military operations or thriller kind of operations where you are attacking or defending, they are based on certain guiding principles. The same things are taught to all people from all defense and police services across the world. Right? So, yes, my training did help. It teaches me how I would execute the strike, which is why they come true, because logically that's the way to do it. Okay, most military minds think in very simple and clear-cut terms. There is the most likely threat, okay, and because it is the most likely threat, you may or may not use it because it's too obvious. So if you flip the logic, the threat which is not so obvious becomes the most likely threat. And then you have to decide which one is going to happen. Generally, as a defender, I would safeguard against both or all three. But I would be retaining the bulk of my effort on the one where I see the highest threat probability. That's why thrillers are challenging, no? That the attacker is always deploying the clues in the wrong place while planning to attack in a different direction. And that's exactly what Ruby does. Because she's a trained MI6 professional. Her father is a trained policeman. So it's a beautiful cat and mouse game where it was great fun each one trying to outthink the other, in addition to the conflicts they were carrying. The dust will never settle. 7 months to format the story to my satisfaction. Another 3 months for research and 6 months to write. So the preparation took 10 months. See, my viewpoint, and this is not the only viewpoint and it's not a correct viewpoint, my viewpoint is that I don't like more than 4 or 5 what I call the POV, the point of view characters in any book. It becomes a bit schizophrenic trying to shift from one head to another head. Secondly, it can be a little confusing. So there are 3 or 4, maybe 5, sometimes 6 primary characters, and then you have the minor ones who help the characters reach a particular point mentally, emotionally, or in real action. That's how I construct my stories. I wanted them to feel each and every pang which Ruby felt and Ravinder felt. I wanted them to get a sense of what it is for a girl who's not seen her father for 25 years and for a father who is passionately in love with this girl to have not seen her for 25 years. I wanted them to feel those emotions. The action part I'm very confident about, because that is something I know I do that very well. So it was getting them to feel the emotions, the raw conflict, and which is what I focused a lot of energy on for this particular book. No, not really. I like I mentioned that I view it as a football match, so I'm constantly, one team is pushing the other, one this side, that side, and I try to have as many times going up and down as possible, because that's where the fun is. That's when it becomes a page turner. That's where you want to keep finding out what the hell is going to happen next. For me, that's the fun. 3. This is book 1, book 2 and 3. I am writing book 2 right now. I have not yet titled them, but I am almost done with the format of book 2, and I am now midway through the format of book 3. When I finish both the formats and I have hammered them out thoroughly in my head, I'll start writing book 2. I like to format the next book in advance, because then I can create the interlock between the books.